Hey Jaguars, looks like we're going to be doing a little bit more of our division review since a lot of us are still struggling with working out how to do division. So we're going to be looking at a series of videos that are going to help us with understanding division in several different ways. We're going to start out with just some low number division and work our way higher while showing different skills that we've learned throughout the year. Okay, just to start out, when we're looking at division, we know that when we are doing division, it is the act of making identical groups from a community set, or basically saying in math terms, we're making an equal number of materials or units in each group. Since we are working with numbers and we can split them up into units, we're basically talking about how many of each unit will go in or can be divided out in a certain number of ways. Okay. So the first way we're going to take a look at is, or the first thing we're going to take a look at is using place value to understand how we're going to divide. When we're looking at place values, we understand our place values are ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, and it can continue on to even the 10,000s, 100,000s, or even can go smaller, which will be decimals, looking at the tenths, hundreds, and thousands, and so on. Now, as we noticed, when we're taking a look at our place values, every time we're moving up a place value from 1s to 10s, it's always going to be that group of 10. Because if we count by 1 10 times, we're going to end up with 110. Same thing if we count by 10 times, we'll end up with 100. And the same thing for hundreds to thousands, okay? So we can use a converting chart or converting unit chart to show that if we have a 10, we can always end up with 10 ones. If we have 1,000, we can end up with 10 hundreds. If we have 100, we can end up with 10 tens. So if we are ever in a part for division where we need to convert one of these units to a smaller unit, we know that the bigger units will end up making more of the smaller units, okay? Like I said, 110 can convert to 10 ones going smaller. 1,000 can make 10 hundreds, okay? Keep that in mind. We're going to look at that in just a little bit when we look at our first practice problem. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a look here at our first problem of 87 divided by 3. When we break down a division problem, we can take a look here, seeing that this leftmost number is the community pile that we're going to be dividing. So we're going to look at 87, and we need to divide it into groups of 3. Or what we could say is we need to know that 3 is the number of units in each group, because we're going to take a look at 87 as units, and we're going to divide those units evenly amongst the 3 groups, okay? Or we're going to be making that many groups pretty soon. So we're going to take a look here at our tens and ones, okay? At first, I started out with 8 dots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dots to show my 8 tens. And I remembered that I need to make them into groups of 3. Okay, so that's a number of units. We're looking at the tens. We're splitting up our tens into groups of 3. So I would circle 1, 2, 3. That's one group of 3. 1, 2, 3. That's 2 groups of 3. And then I have 2 remaining. I cannot put that into a group of 3. So I'm going to have to convert it later on. Okay? So since I have 2 groups of 3, I'm going to write down here 2 to make sure that that is in my tens place. I was able to make 2 groups of 3 tens. Okay? So that's 2 right down there. Now, for my ones, I started out with a 7, so I drew 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But since I have 2 tens here, each of these tens are worth 10 ones. So that's 10, 20. I drew out 20 more dots to show that I have 20 plus 7, which is 27. And then I would divide them all into groups of 3. So there's 1 set, 2 sets, 3 sets, 4 sets, 5 sets, 6 sets, 7 sets, 8 sets, and 9 sets. So I had 9 down here, and I noticed there are no dots remaining outside here. So that means I have a remainder of 0. So based on my numbers, I have my answer is going to have 2 10s and 9 1s. My answer for 87 divided by 3 would be 29 based on my numbers here with a remainder of 0. Now, what if we take a look at this problem using long division? Okay, we're going to start down here for long division, and we're starting out with 87 divided by 3. This 87, that community set that I mentioned before, that's going to go inside this box right here because it's just like we're pulling stuff out of a box that we need to sort out. Okay, so it's going to be 87 there, and then we're going to divide it into groups of 3. And then just like up here when we had 8 dots, we were able to make 2 groups of 3. And so once they're in a group of 3, we can subtract them out because they're already in a group. So now with those 2 extras, I know I was able to make 2 groups of 3 and have a remainder of 2. So right here, I had 2 groups of 3. And when I multiply those together, 2 times 3 is 6. Those 6 are in a group, so I can subtract them out, and I get a 2. Okay? Now, the 2 that was remaining here, that became 10, 20 into the one side. So now I had 20 plus the 7 that was already here to get 27. And over here, when I bring down my 7, it shows that 27 as well. Now, when we divided our 27 dots into groups of 3, I was able to make 9 groups, which is going to show the 9 here. So 3 times 9 got me to 27 with a 0 remainder. So I have 0 as my remainders up here as well. The fact that I showed my work multiple ways and they're matching shows that my answers are correct. Now, what if I wanted to check my work even further? When we have our answer for any kind of division problem, no matter what we do, we can always check our work. We're going to take our quotient, which is the very number of groups that we made. So just like right here, that's our quotient. Same with here, this is our quotient. Let's put a Q. Okay, you multiply your quotient times your divisor, which is the number in each group, and you should end up with your starting number. Now, if you had any remainders, you would still need to add it after you did your multiplication. And we're going to look at that in the next problem that we come across, okay? All right. So make sure that you're taking a look at what we see here and what we've done to help ourselves with division. We've tried out a place value chart and using dots to show us making the groups. Or we can use long division where we can think of our multiplication facts and then subtract them out from our group as we go. Okay, we're going to take a look at a sample problem where we're going to still work with the lower numbers here. And then the next video, we're going to work with higher numbers with more complex issues for division, okay? So if we look at this next page, if we're going to take a look at a problem, we're going to say, we're going to divide 75 divided by 2. Okay, this is also written 75 divided by 2. Okay? If I want to do my place value chart, I set it up where I have my 1s and my 10s. And I know that there are 7 10s because I have a 70. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I have 5 1s. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? So, how many are going to be in each grouping that we make? Well, hope you said the answer is 2 because that's right. That's the number on the outside. That's the number here as our divisor. That's how many of each unit will be in a group. So we're going to make groups of 2. So I'm going to circle this 1 group of 2, 2 groups of 2, and 3 groups of 2. So I had 3 groups right here, and then I have this remaining 1. Well, how many 1s is 110 equal to? Well, 110 is the same thing as 10 1s. So I'm going to draw 10 1s here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm going to circle groups of 2 like before to show that I'm making those groupings. So here's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So I made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 groups of 2 with a remainder of 1. So that means 75 divided by 2 is 37 with a remainder of 1. How about for long division? 75 divided by 2. Well, if I want to make it easier on myself, what I can do is I can always just cover up my numbers to show what I need to work with first. I'm working with my 7s or my 7/10s first. So if I need to count by 2 to get to 7, well, if I want to write it out, I can go 2, 4, 6, 8. I can't make 4 groups because that gets me 8. So I can make 3 groups of 2, which will get me 6. So I subtract the 6 from my 7. I end up with 1. And then now I move my sticky note aside. I bring down to 5. And then now I need to see how many times can I count by 2 to get to 15, or how many times can I divide 15 into 2 groups. Well, if I continue from my 2s, I go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. I can't go to 16. So I can make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 groups of 2, which gets me 14. So I subtract that, and I get that remainder of 1. So just like before, my answer is 37 with a remainder of 1. Okay, time to check the work. We're going to take our answer, our quotient, which is 37. Okay, we're not going to worry about the remainder yet. We're just taking the quotient right here, which is 37, times our divisor, which is 2. 7 times 2 is 14. Carry that 1. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 1 is 7. And then notice how the numbers are just off. Well, we have a remainder of 1 here. We need to make sure we add that remainder of 1. So plus 1, and we should end up with the same number that we started with, which is 75. Okay? If you need any repeats of what just happened in this lesson, feel free to rewind and go back, try out the problems again. Or what you could do, you could just try out some of the problems that I'm going to write down here, and then bring them into class or have someone check your work to see if you're correct, okay? So we can have 46 divided by 3. Or how about 57 divided by 4? Or even 68 divided by 2. Okay. Try out these 2 problems and then either bring them into class or have someone at home check your work to see if you're correct, and double check to see if you understood how to use a place value chart or long division to help you solve a 2-digit by 1-digit multiplication problem, okay? The next video that you're going to be able to see is going to look at 3-digit by 1-digit, and you're going to find out that there's going to be a little more issues that could come up. So make sure you watch that video and take the time to understand when sometimes there's going to be a 0 and what we got to do with it, okay? See you in the next video.